fear, anger, aggression. These things lead to the dark side. So how come in Equilibrium, when they administered a drug to everybody to wipe out emotions and feelings and they can no longer feel anger, fear, aggression, how come it still failed? Why was there still war? Let's talk about it. What did you think of Equilibrium? Let's talk in the comments. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is a Patreon-requested theological analysis. I want to say a huge thank you to my brand new patron, Marshall, for jumping on board and supporting Durbania and supporting at the level where he got to pick a theological analysis for me to do. If you really like Durbania and you would like to jump on board on my Patreon and support this channel, you can check out the link in my description where I have the different rewards for the different levels of giving. And maybe you can give me my next theological analysis or a movie to review. So make sure to check that out and hit that link in that description if that's something you're interested in. Right now, Marshall, it is time for Equilibrium.
There's no war. No murder. What is it you think we do? No.
The utopia and society in Equilibrium that they have built is put on this foundation. That if we could just get rid of human emotion and feelings, then there will be no war. Because yeah, people won't walk around being happy, they won't walk around being excited, they won't have passion, yeah, they won't have that, but they also won't have jealousies. They won't have anger, they won't have fear. They won't have those things that lead them over to the dark side and lead them into war. And so if we could get rid of all human emotion and all of that stuff, then boom, we will have ended war. So the idea is to put an end to that type of oppression, dictatorship, and all of that stuff, put an end to it altogether by removing what they believe is the core.
The true source of man's inhumanity to man's ability to feel.
But here's the deal, it's not working. A society that wanted to remove oppression is now the most oppressive society there is. A society that wanted to get rid of violence and killing and war is waging war with absolute killers who know this fighting style called gun kata, the idea being that the way they move decreases their ability to be hit by bullets and maximizes their own kill position. So a society trying to put an end to war and an end to fighting is some of the greatest fighters and warriors out there. Trying to put an end to oppression, they're the most oppressive society that has existed. So right there, we already see the cracks in the foundations. Something isn't right. And I think the problem with their entire foundation is this. They're treating symptoms and they're not treating the disease itself. Jeremiah 17:9 says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" I mean, it's just talking about the sheer wickedness of the human heart. A good man brings things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. So in other words, God's not mocked. A man reaps what he sows. What is inside the heart and stored up in here, it's what's going to come out. So they're not treating the disease, they're treating the symptoms. And since they're just numbing the symptoms, the disease is now truly running rampant inside, unchecked, because now they can't even feel like the feelings that's going on. And they've created that physical war on that one level against the people that want to actually have life and feel happiness and feel passion and excitement and love. Like they want to feel it and experience it and truly live. And now this oppressive society has waged war on that. So war has not ended. In fact, it is still going on, the same war that has always been going on. But it has also created war on a whole nother level. While I was watching this movie, I drove my wife a little bit crazy because, for instance, the scene where Christian Bale's character, John, when his wife gets arrested, you can't tell me he wasn't feeling. If he didn't feel love, well, the connection of love was still there, and that was still in his heart. So when these soldiers, these police came in and arrested her, his gut reaction was to beat the ever-living snot out of them and do what it takes to save his wife. He broke the one dude's hand, put a gun to another guy's throat. When they said she's a sense offender, that's when he finally stepped aside, emotionless, and let them take her and burn her and, destroy her. That's when he stepped aside. But what a crazy reaction when they walked in. I would think if this drug did what it claimed it could do, when the police would have broken in, you know what he would have done? He would have walked up calmly and said, what is the meaning of this? They would have described the meaning of it, and then he would have stepped aside. But what we saw come out was passion. Maybe he didn't feel passion. Maybe he didn't feel love. But love is a word that describes a connection. In his heart, he had that true connection with his wife. And when that pressure was on, what was stored up truly in his heart came out. Whether he felt it or not, it was still there. It was still inside of him to come out. Then let's take a look at John's kids. The mom gets taken and they decide to stop taking the drug that takes away their emotions? No, I'm sorry. I think what this is telling me is no matter what, there's a war going inside. And all this drug does is create that war. Feelings and emotions don't go away because you can't get rid of humanity. You can't get rid of what's actually inside the heart. Even if you can numb the symptoms, you will not get rid of what's inside of there. They had a reaction to their mom being taken away, and they made a choice from that reaction to stop taking those drugs so that they could feel. So you can't tell me that there wasn't something already going on. And before John quit taking his doses, the fact that he went to sleep and dreamed and flashed back to his wife being taken, you know what that tells me? That there was something there. But again, it just goes back to what is stored up in the heart. That's what's going to come out. You can numb the feelings and you can numb the symptoms, but it won't change what's actually on the inside. And that is what the cracks in this foundation are. That's why you get to the end of this movie and you have John and he ends up stop taking his doses, finds out his kids aren't taking their doses, finds the resistance, joins the resistance to take out the father, which the father has got to be one of the most perverse parts of this whole thing. Because again, it shows you the true heart of humanity. They wanted to put an end to war and dictators and people trying to nab power and have too much power. So it turns out the disease was so rampant on the inside that this whole deal set up to redeem mankind was a gigantic falsehood and a gigantic lie. It was nothing but a huge power grab so one person can sit in power over everybody else at their expense. This person would be powerful, giving them a false fix to the problem. None of the corruption was ended. None of the evil was taken care of, and that is why this utopia collapsed in the end, because its foundation was weak. When it comes to wanting to take care of the pain that we feel, the hurt that we feel, we could try to turn to anything, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever else to try to numb it as much as possible. But that'd be just like turning to Prozium and it wouldn't fix a darn thing at all, because the disease is still running unchecked. But God gives us a promise. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. He is the one that is going to go past the symptoms and go straight down to the disease, and he's going to take care of the core of it. Sometimes that's difficult. We feel ugly. We feel disgusting inside. The idea of letting him in can be kind of scary, but he's got good thoughts towards us. He's got love towards us, and he's the real Father. That Antichrist figure, that he perverted that name, but he's wearing the title rightfully. God wears it rightfully and comes into the heart and brings the cure to the disease. Yeah, through life we have to grow, we have to change. It's not an instantaneous process. But the point is, once he gives us that brand new heart and he puts in us that brand new spirit, the cure has begun. And it doesn't just start on the outside and work in, it starts on the inside and begins to slowly work its way out. So, if we want to see the cure to the disease, we can't go on numbing symptoms, can we? We got to take care of the disease itself. So when I watch Equilibrium, that is the picture I see. It's a fantastic picture of recognizing there's a problem, but numbing the symptoms instead of actually taking care of the disease. When you watch Equilibrium, what do you see? Let's talk about that in the comments. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button to become a Durbanian. Hit the bell by the subscribe button so you're notified for my next theological analysis or movie review, ranking video, or anything else I do here. I'm Durbin. Thanks for checking out Durbania.